We live in an era where every change seems to require a stage. Transformation today is measured by public declarations, inspirational reels, and neatly packaged before and after timelines. But the universe, that silent and precise field, does not respond to performances. It responds to coherence. While the world seeks applause and witnesses, the field seeks vibrational stability. That's why the deepest shifts happen when no one is watching. Real metamorphosis is not born from the noise of motivation, but from the silence of realignment. It happens in the biological backstage of the body, in the rhythm of breath, in the synapses that reconfigure themselves when an old thought finally loses strength. What looks like a pause is actually gestation. The invisible always works before the visible. Science calls this process neuroplasticity. The brain's ability to reshape itself as an internal state is repeated with consistency. Spirituality calls it silent faith, the act of remaining loyal to the new, even when nothing yet confirms it. Different languages describing the same law. Every creation happens twice, first in the field, then in form. When you abandon the need to prove and simply choose to sustain the new state, something shifts in the geometry of your field. The noise stops, the signal stabilizes, and the universe begins reorganizing circumstances around that new frequency. Life stops being a stage of effort and becomes a mirror of coherence. Silence, therefore, is not absence, it is concentrated power. It is the quantum womb where realities are conceived, the interval between sound and shape, the point where the unseen begins to crystallize. The transformation the world does not witness is precisely the one that echoes the loudest. What is forged in secret reverberates through everything. Modern culture has turned personal growth into spectacle. There is an almost compulsive rush to announce, "Now I've changed, now I've awakened." But every time transformation needs to be proven, the ego is still in charge. True change doesn't happen when you declare it, but when you sustain it. Genuine metamorphosis doesn't ask for a spotlight because it has already found coherence within the body. It's like a seed beneath the soil. No one sees it, but the work is happening in silence, molecule by molecule, cell by cell. Announcing before consolidating is wasting vital energy. It's like opening the oven halfway through, the cake collapses. When you share something still unstable, energy disperses, the field becomes confused, and the collapse of the new timeline weakens. That's why the greatest vibrational leaps are often invisible, imperceptible even to the one experiencing them. To truly transform is an intimate act of vibrational loyalty. It is remaining in the new state when no one applauds, when no one validates, when nothing external seems to match it. It is in that silent interval that identity solidifies and the universe reorders its coordinates. The transformation that isn't displayed becomes inevitable. The one that seeks validation dissolves into noise. Once the new version stabilizes, the world notices, not because you said it, but because everything around you begins to respond differently. Conversations shift, opportunities appear, relationships refine. The field doesn't need an announcement, it simply replicates what is already coherent. The myth of public transformation dies the moment you understand that true recognition comes from synchronicity, not from an audience. Coherence is felt. Silence, in this case, is the exact sound of truth settling in. In the universe, nothing essential happens in noise. Matter is formed from subtle vibrations, from invisible fields exchanging information. Quantum collapse, the instant when possibility becomes fact, is a silent phenomenon. There is no explosion, no flash, no applause. All that exists is a point of such precise coherence that energy decides to become form. The same is true within you. When mind, emotion, and body align without effort, the unseen begins to crystallize around your new frequency. The mistake is believing that change must come with dramatic intensity. The universe doesn't understand urgency, it understands stability. While you rush to see results, energy scatters. When you settle, it organizes. It's the moment you stop forcing and simply become that the field responds. Collapse never happens under tension. It requires the same silence from which stars are born. This silence is not emptiness. It is fertile ground, the interval between desire and evidence, where vibration turns into architecture. It is within this space that synapses reprogram, hormones recalibrate, and the nervous system learns that the new is safe. Collapse, then, is a conversation between your body and the universe, an invisible choreography, perfectly synchronized. When you sustain the new state with serenity, the field understands it can trust and begins to mirror what you emit. Reality then bends without resistance. What once seemed distant or unlikely simply happens, not as a miracle, but as physics applied to consciousness. That's why the greatest shifts happen without warning. Suddenly, something changes, not because you did more, but because you finally aligned. Reality collapses in silence because coherence needs no sound. It speaks in the language of inevitability. Every transformation begins in a place the ordinary eye cannot reach, between synapses. It is there, in the microscopic gaps of the brain, that the new is formed before it gains name or shape. Each time you choose a different thought and sustain it with coherent emotion, a neural bridge is built. At first, it is fragile, a thread of energy linking the old to the new. But repetition with presence turns the thread into a pathway, and the brain begins to recognize the new route as natural. Neuroscience calls this neuroplasticity, but the quantum field recognizes it as vibrational realignment. While the rational mind believes nothing is happening, the body is rewriting its internal maps of perception. The nervous system learns to feel safe in what once seemed impossible, and the field responds to this new biological code. The invisible rearranges itself, preparing the ground for the visible to follow. That's why the most powerful changes seem slow at first. They are not slow, they are subtle. The brain needs silence to reprogram, repetition to consolidate, coherence to trust. With each conscious breath, with each aligned choice, you teach your body to become the transmitter of a new frequency. Thought becomes emotion, emotion becomes chemistry, chemistry becomes field. The mistake is interrupting the process for lack of evidence. When you seek external confirmation too soon, you send the brain the signal that the new is not safe, and the synapses return to their previous pattern. That's why the unseen needs privacy. It is the incubator of transformation. Once the brain finally understands that the new is stable, something changes irreversibly. What once required effort becomes automatic. You no longer try to be different, you simply are different. The mind stops wrestling with matter because now both vibrate in unison, and the world inevitably follows. Everything in the universe responds to coherence. From atoms to galaxies, order arises when distinct frequencies fall into harmony. The same principle governs the human body. When the heart, the brain, and the electromagnetic field vibrate in sync, energy flows without noise, and reality organizes itself around that clarity. There is no effort, there is resonance, and resonance is the language the field understands. Coherence is not manufactured by the mind, it is felt through the body. It appears in the instant when thought stops running and emotion aligns with what is true. It is a state of wholeness, where nothing needs to be forced because everything is already in order. At that point, the universe does not grant your desires. It simply mirrors what you have become. Coherence is the source code of manifestation. Bruce Lipton showed that coherent beliefs alter cellular biology. Joe Dispenza proved that emotions sustained in harmony change neural and electromagnetic patterns. Both describe the same equation: mind plus emotion plus body equals quantum signal. When that signal is stable, the field collapses instantly around it. Matter obeys coherence, not the intensity of desire. Confusion arises when intention is strong, but the internal field vibrates in noise, fear, doubt, urgency. Energy tries to respond but receives contradictory input, like a poorly tuned frequency. In the silence of coherence, the noise stops, and the energetic command is finally understood. Coherence is therefore the point where the self stops asking and starts emitting. It is the moment when the human and the quantum become a single system, where creation is no longer an action, but a consequence. When everything in you strikes the same note, the universe answers with the same melody. True change begins when you stop trying to look new and simply become it. Silent identity is the kind that does not seek witnesses, because it has already become evidence. It is the moment when "I want to be" dissolves into "I am." At that point, the quantum field stops responding to promises and starts reflecting a consolidated vibrational signature. Identity is not a mask, it is a sustained frequency. Every belief, every recurring emotion, every posture of the body emits a signal. What you call life is merely the echo of that signal. Changing identity is not about altering appearance, name, or speech. It is about changing the baseline vibrational state. Only when the entire body agrees with the new role does reality change tone. The problem is that the ego wants to be seen changing. It needs to announce, to prove, to perform. But the field does not respond to performance. It responds to coherence. Oversharing disperses energy. Being in silence concentrates power. When you embody the new without needing to convince anyone, the field understands. The change is real, not an attempt. This is the difference between rehearsal and embodiment. Rehearsal seeks applause, embodiment radiates presence. The former exhausts itself trying to hold the role, the latter simply inhabits it. When the new self becomes natural, effortless, with no need for recognition, life reorganizes itself to reflect that naturalness. Silent identity is sovereign because it relies neither on approval nor on resistance. It does not react, it emits. It is the highest form of faith, not asking, not proving, simply sustaining. In that state, reality does not need to be forced to believe in you. It is compelled to mirror what you vibrate. There are practices that require no setting and no witnesses, only presence. They are not meant to attract anything, but to remind the body of the harmony it already knows. Simple, everyday gestures that tune the field without noise, restoring its natural tone of coherence. Breathe. Inhale to the count of 6, exhale to the count of 8. In that rhythm, the body begins to understand that it is safe. The heart slows, the brain adjusts its pace, the nervous system releases urgency. It is in that small space of tranquility that the universe hears you with clarity. Then, close your eyes and place yourself inside the scene already lived. Do not observe it from the outside. Live it from within. Feel the ground beneath your feet, the air, the ambient sound. Notice your body reacting as if it were already familiar. That is the language the field understands. Genuine emotion, not expectation. When sleep arrives, lie down in the frequency of gratitude. Think of something small and real that brings you lightness. That feeling is the access code to a new timeline. By falling asleep in that state, the subconscious registers it as a pattern and begins to reproduce it effortlessly. Throughout the day, practice the micro-decision. Act as someone who already is, not as rehearsal, but as reflex. Walk differently, choose differently, breathe differently. These tiny gestures, repeated with awareness, are what anchor the new vibrational program. These rituals have no audience. Their power lies in silent constancy, in the vibration that does not show itself but transforms. A coherent body does not need to shout. It emits a field so stable that the universe, without resistance, simply responds. There is a moment between planting and blooming when nothing seems to be happening, and that is where most people give up. This invisible space between intention and result is what Neville Goddard called the bridge of incidence, and what quantum physics recognizes as the reorganization interval of the field. It is the silent gap, the time in which the universe rearranges pieces so that the new reality can emerge. On the surface, it looks like stagnation. Messages stop, doors close, the rhythm slows. But behind the stillness, the field is moving structures, aligning frequencies, synchronizing coordinates. Nothing is paused, only unseen. What many call silence is in truth cosmic intelligence working without distraction. It is in this interval that the ego screams. It wants proof, evidence, confirmation that it worked. And by trying to measure the invisible with anxiety, the ego disrupts the process, opens the cocoon before the butterfly is ready. The coherent observer, on the other hand, understands that the void is part of creation. They remain in a stable frequency, allowing the invisible to finish its engineering. The silent gap is the true test of quantum faith, not faith as blind belief, but as vibrational stability. It is when you sustain the state without external guarantees, when you trust the collapse without trying to push it. Silent coherence is what keeps the channel open while the field rearranges itself. So when nothing seems to move, know this: the deepest movement is happening. The field needs only one thing, that you do not rush in to interfere. It is within this silence, within this apparent nothingness, that everything is beginning to take form. Every coherence is contagious. When you sustain a steady frequency, without trying to convince, without needing to prove, something begins to ripple outward. People shift their tone around you. Tense situations resolve without explanation. The field responds like water around a stone dropped with precision. Soft, yet irresistible waves expanding outward in widening circles. This invisible ripple effect is exactly that, the energetic reverberation that your coherent state creates in the world. You don't need to talk about what you're doing. The environment can feel it. The ordered rhythm of your heart regulates the rhythm of the hearts around you, a phenomenon already measured by the HeartMath Institute. The simple act of being in peace alters the collective frequency, even when no one knows why. This influence is not power in the traditional sense. There is no manipulation, only resonance. The field naturally seeks the most harmonious equilibrium available, and when you become that steady point, everything begins to adjust around you. This is how relationships soften, opportunities draw near, and even unexpected events start to look like useful synchronicities. The waves of your state travel farther than you realize. Every coherent emotion you emit is a seed planted in the collective unconscious. Every balanced thought is a micro-instruction to the fabric of reality. Even without noticing, you are shaping the world simply by stabilizing your own vibration. And the most curious part, the less you try to make an impact, the more impact you have. Noise distracts, but coherence attracts. When you become the source rather than the seeker, the entire universe tunes itself to your frequency. The universe doesn't respond to your peaks. It responds to your consistency. Intense emotions may open brief portals, but only vibrational stability keeps those portals open. It's like fire. A sudden flare may light up the night, but it's the steady flame that warms and transforms. In the quantum field, coherence is more powerful than explosion. A state maintained lightly for a few minutes a day reprograms the body and environment more deeply than hours of enthusiasm followed by doubt. Reality reads your pattern, not your outbursts. Intermittent frequencies create intermittent results. The mind seeks spectacle, the field seeks rhythm. You can spend a day in powerful visualizations and still cancel everything the moment you return to fear. It is the return to center, repeated, calm, almost invisible, that gradually rewrites the timeline. It's the habit of remaining coherent when no one is watching that solidifies the new state. Consistency doesn't mean rigidity. It is living presence, not mechanical routine. It's the ability to return again and again to the point of clarity, even after falling. It's a kind of vibrational fidelity, the silent decision not to abandon the new self in the face of pauses or apparent delays. Quantum physics and neuroscience agree. The system only changes when the new pattern is reinforced until it becomes natural. And naturalness is the opposite of effort. It's the moment the new state stops being a practice and becomes identity. From that point on, the field no longer needs to be convinced. It simply recognizes who you've become. There comes a moment when silence stops being an absence of sound and becomes a presence of power. Silence isn't inertia, it is command. When you learn to remain still even in the midst of chaos, the field understands that you're no longer reacting, you're leading. A true creator doesn't need to announce their creation. They vibrate what already is, and the universe aligns around that certainty. Silent sovereignty is energetic maturity. It's the moment you realize that urgency, the need to prove, and the craving for validation were nothing more than noise disrupting your frequency. The instant the ego stops demanding recognition, the field recognizes vibrational authority. You become a reference, a presence that orders without force, simply by existing in coherence. That silence has its own signature, calm density. It is the kind of energy that does not push nor bend. It doesn't try to convince, yet everyone feels it. It is the frequency of someone who remembers, the peace that radiates without words, the gaze that transmits safety without explanation. It is the meeting point between spirituality and physiology, breath, heartbeat, and electromagnetic field in harmony. When you reach that state, speaking becomes optional and proving becomes unnecessary. Life begins to respond in the same tone, with precision, ease, and synchronicity. That's when you understand, silence is not the end of sound. It is sound refined to purity. Silence is the space where reality bends. It is the territory of the mature creator, the one who understands that true command doesn't come from force, but from stability. In silence, you don't wait for the universe to act. You and the universe breathe together. Silent transformation is the highest form of creation. It doesn't require witnesses, because its evidence is vibrational, not visual. What is born in the invisible sustains the visible. What stabilizes in the field does not need to be defended on a stage. When you learn to remain coherent even without external signs, the universe understands that the form has already been chosen, and then, inevitably, it appears. Bruce Lipton describes this process in biological terms. Coherent beliefs and emotions alter the internal environment and thus cellular expression. Joe Dispenza translates it into the language of the field. When mind, heart, and body align, they generate an electromagnetic signature so stable that reality reorganizes around it. Both speak the same law. Coherence is the code of manifestation. In this context, silence is the laboratory of creation. It is where noise dissolves and your true frequency emerges. Every conscious breath, every moment of private gratitude, every micro-decision made from the new identity writes the most powerful message a human can send into the field. This already is. And the field, which does not respond to promises or scattered intentions, responds only to that, to the vibration that has stabilized. When you stop trying to prove the change and simply live it, the change becomes inevitable. After all, the universe has no choice but to mirror what you hold with constancy. Silent transformation is a return to origin, to the place where being is enough. No rush, no performance, no monitoring, just coherence and presence. Because in the end, reality is not convinced by words, it is magnetized by who you've become.